Okay, let's start again. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Dharma family service. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and to everyone, but also a happy Parents' Day, which is what in the past we always did for this day's service, although, things are always changing. I'd like to begin the service with a quote from the Dalai Lama, so please join me in Gassho. Because we all share this planet Earth, we have to learn to live in harmony and peace with each other and with nature. This is not just a dream, but a necessity. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, so let's begin our service with Sutra chanting. And today we'll be chanting Juseige, and you should have the page there with you. Namandab, 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 namandab. Gagon chosegan, hishimu jodo. Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogak Gao Munyoko Fui Dai Seshu Fusai Shobingu Seifu Joshogak Gashi Jobutsudo Myosho Chojippo Kukyo Mishomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tenninshi Jinniki and Daiko Fushomu Saido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunam Kaiichi Egen Meshi Konmoan Heisoku Shoakudo Tsudatsu Zen Shumon Koso Jomanzok Iyoro Jippo Nichigatsu Shujuki Tenko Onpugen Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jodai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyoi Saibutsu Gusoku Shutoku Hon Ganne Shitsu Joman Tokui Sangayo Nyobutsu Mugechi Tsudatsu Mifusho Gangaku Erik Toshi
最小尊志願や国家大戦を感動国書天に問う珍妙見南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏願にしくどく平等性祭道本大心往生安南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏南無阿弥陀仏 Next, let's recite the three treasures. Hang on just a second. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, well, thank you once again for joining us. I'd like to, well, let me read that passage again, okay? So, on this kind of special occasion of Mother's Day, but also Parents' Day, let's listen to these words of the Dalai Lama. Gasho, please. Because we all share this planet Earth, we have to learn to live in harmony and peace with each other and with nature. This is not just a dream, but a necessity. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Okay. Well, thanks once again. I think I mentioned before, I'm not sure if it made it to the internet or not, but before the pandemic, this would have been totally different, right? We would have had what we call Parents' Day breakfast. The reason we did Parents' Day and not Mother's Day is because Father's Day was just lost for Buddhist Church of Oakland fathers because of Bazaar, right? So on Father's Day, the fathers of BCO for decades have been working their butts off, right? Working on the Bazaar and kind of giving up that day for the sake of the church. Now, during the pandemic, right, things changed massively and in many ways. And so, in a way, we could kind of do Mother's Day separate, right? And because Father's Day, no bazaar, right? So that we could kind of do Father's Day. And yet, we don't normally have service on that day. So at the same time, I think it's kind of good to also keep fathers in mind. So maybe we could still think of it as Parents' Day, right? Today, for Buddhist Church of Oakland, I think Parents' Day still has kind of a strong meaning. And yet, Mother's Day is important. I think it is important to address that. So what I'd like to do is look at Mother's Day kind of from a few different perspectives, right? And so in a way, maybe that's kind of my Dharma talk too, is perspectives, right? Taking different perspectives on things. And so today, I'd like to offer a few perspectives on Mother's Day. So, I'm not a mother. I can't be a mother, right? I'm not a father either to any human children. I guess you could call me kind of cat dad when I've had, cats, and so I've been kind of a parent maybe to cats, but I can't speak from the perspective of being a parent, right, or being a mother. So that's one perspective that I can't take, that I know many of you can. Not everyone, but many of you, right? So for me, thinking about Mother's Day, I have to start with my mother, right? And just kind of thinking about my mother. And this morning, she passed away over 20 years ago. And so she actually passed away while I was here during my internship. And so, so in a way, there is this kind of connection for me of Mother's Day and Buddhist Church of Oakland, but it's kind of a painful one in a way. But if I think about my mom, and I was thinking about her this morning, and I thought of something I never thought about. I cannot imagine her life during the first few years of my life. I've never thought about it, and I kind of can't imagine. Or maybe I can only imagine. So as I was thinking, I realized, wow, she had moved to Tokyo. Her family's northeastern Honshu, Iwate, right? And so and I think in a way she was kind of estranged from her family in many ways too. So she's living the single life in Tokyo and then meets my dad while he's working in Japan. And he got sick, she was a nurse. I guess they fell in love or whatever, right? And they got married and had me. She'd actually come back to the States and become a U.S. citizen before I was born. And so I'm born just U.S. citizen because both my mother and father, right? But she was Japanese, racially, ethnically. So just thinking about those first couple years, did she have any support? Right? Raising a son, a child, all by yourself? Right? My dad was working, I'm sure, every day. In Japan, that's 6 days a week, right? And so he probably wasn't around during the day. Was she just at home alone? I don't. Maybe her family came. I know there's so I have a picture today of my parents with me. I showed some of you earlier. There I am with both my parents holding me at Meiji Jingu. So they took me to Meiji Jingu, and I have another picture of me and my mom and my grandmother, her mother, from this same time. So she was there, but I'm sure they went back pretty soon. I don't think that my grandmother moved in with them. So what was my mom doing? Right? And just realizing that must have been hard. Then they moved to the United States a year later. So she moves to a foreign country. She'd been there before, but making a new life in a new country. She spoke some English, but no family to go to. She had like one friend. I know we made friends with people on the block that I'm still friends with. So there was a little bit of community. But just for me to think about my mother in those first 2, 3, 4 years of my life that I have no memory of, I can only imagine. Right? And so realizing, wow, how much she must have gone through. So that's one perspective. That's my perspective, right? And yet my perspective even has blank spots, and I can't ask her because she's gone, right? And so there are these blank spots, and yet I can think and realize, wow, all that she went through, beyond just bearing me, right? And the labor and all those things, right? But then also the difficulty of that first few years just in a way changes my perception. Right? Realizing I have a perception, but that even that can change when I consider the feelings of others. But then I back up a little bit, and I do have a mom in my life, my mother-in-law. Right? And so I'm wearing a tie that she gave me. So later on I can show you. It's a tie with cats on it, right? And so she knows I like cats, so she got me a tie. So it's kind of a precious gift, right? And so I thought, I got to wear something she gave me today, right? To kind of honor her. So I do have this mother in my life. Then I realized the wagesa I'm wearing, this robe, I've been wearing it a lot because I think of it as coming from Reverend Yamaoka. Right, that Reverend Seigen Yamaoka gave it to me. But today I realized, no, Reverend Seigen and Shigeko Yamaoka gave it to me. Right, that Sensei's wife, I think, was part of me getting this wagesa. So I thought, I have to wear this. It's in my car usually, and so I realized I need that, because it's really important for me to wear this today. Because it's not even we were that close, but I was living out here all alone, and I did think of Sensei and Shigeko as kind of adopted parents in a way. As much as, in a way we weren't that close, and yet they were so important to me. So again, my perspective, I can kind of open up and realize, oh wait, there are these other mothers in my life. Then break it up even more and start thinking about Buddhist Church of Oakland, right? And one of my favorite stories, and I forget who, I think it might be someone here, and their mom and another person were both having their children at the same day at the hospital. And so you realize, whoa, so in this community, I think there was probably a lot of support, right? Maybe not with everyone, but that this is in a community of many mothers, right? And many parents, right? And how special that is, right? To have those relationships where you're not doing it alone like my mom, right? But you have all these other people you can consult with and talk to and maybe even take care of each other's kids and that kind of thing, right? And so you kind of realize, whoa, I think motherhood must be easier with a community, right? Kind of more traditional. Whether it's your own extended family, which is less and less and less in our society, in our world, right? Or beyond just extended family, community, right? This extended community that you can also depend on. And so, just realizing that that's something really special, right? And that's another kind of wonderful aspect of Mother's Day at BCO maybe, right? Is to think about that and realize, wow, this community, this Sangha, right, is so important for that reason too. Right? To realize, wow, we didn't have to do it alone like my mom. Or imagine how many mothers in America, right, that kind of have to do it alone. They don't have support of their families. They don't have extended family. They got this nuclear family, if you're lucky, even that, right? And so realizing, wow. And so in that sense, Mother's Day, big shout out to single moms, right? Big shout out to people that are raising their kids without the benefit of an extended family or a community, right? To be able to help. That just must be so, so, so hard. And also want to acknowledge that for some people, relationship with mom was not a positive thing. And we have to keep that in mind too, right? That it can be, not everyone gets along with their mom. Relationships with mothers, I think, are difficult anyway. But for some people, I know it's not it's not a positive relationship, or it wasn't a positive relationship. And so realizing that Mother's Day can actually be really difficult for people, right? And it was difficult for me in the early times, the early years after losing my mom. So maybe you've lost your mother, and so Mother's Day can be a time of difficulty, but also with your personal relationship with your mother, right? Acknowledging that, I think, is really, really important. So I wanted to, the core maybe is the perspective of Buddhism on motherhood. What does Buddhism say about motherhood, right? Or even parenthood? So I think the one that we need to be aware of is that one attitude towards motherhood and parents, I think, is kind of negative, right? That family relationships are attachment. And, I think we don't hear that much in BCA and Jodo Shinshu, that's not emphasized. But I think it's important to put out there, because that's one aspect, I think, of Buddhism. That if you're just studying Buddhism at the beginning and you learn about attachment and you're like, well, am I supposed to get rid of these attachments? Right? The ideal is monasticism, right? Am I not supposed to become a monk and leave home, leave my family? Is that not the ideal? And if it's not, why not? Right? So for some kinds of Buddhism, maybe there is that. And even Shinran writes about it. One of the Wasans on Nagarjuna, he writes these poems or songs, and he uses this term, on-I. On-I. On is like whole on, or this, but in this case, I think it's obligation, kind of, but also compassion, and then I is love. Right? So in modern Japanese, ai suru yo, I love you, right? I can mean that kind of love, but here this on-I is something to be overcome, because it can get in your way of the pursuit of Buddhahood, because it's an attachment. So all attachments need to be severed in this kind of understanding, right? And so just to realize, I think in Buddhism there is that aspect, this kind of negative aspect or understanding of family. But that's not all there is. And I don't think that that's the view of Jodo Shinshu, or Buddhism necessarily. And one is because of something called the four immeasurable minds. The four immeasurable minds. Four attitudes that Buddhists are often encouraged to emulate, right? Encouraged to try and do. And so those are friendliness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Okay, so those are four kind of Buddhist, I call them Buddhist values, right? Friendliness or kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy. That's kind of a weird word, right? But it means when someone else is happy, be happy. Which might sound strange, but just look at our media and know when someone else is happy, tear them down, right? That's what a lot of what the media tells us to do. No, sympathetic joy. When someone else is succeeding, you're happy with them. And then equanimity, this kind of calm balance. Now the reason why I bring these up is because the classic metaphor in Buddhism is these are like the way a mother feels for her only child. So the friendliness, the kindness that we're encouraged to feel for all beings is like the love of a mother for her child. The compassion is like the love of a mother for her sick child. Right? That one's really interesting, I think. Right? One is just kindness and friendliness, but another is, whoa, someone's suffering, and that compassion, wanting to help. Sympathetic joy is like the mother's attitude when her child succeeds. Right? And so, it doesn't it just make sense, kind of? And yet, how much do we have that in our society, right? But then equanimity too, that the mother can also just kind of view these in a calm, rational way. Okay? And it isn't like, oh, this is amazing, you did so great. It's like, good. Right? It doesn't have to be all drama, right? There's also this equanimity. So to me, it's kind of amazing that this Buddhist metaphor for these wonderful, good practices is the ideal relationship between mother and child. Right? So that's really interesting to me, right? Sometimes I think people get stuck on that, no, parents are an attachment, family is an attachment, we should leave. But at the same time, there's this recognition of a mother's love for her child. And then the last one is Amida and Shakyamuni as our parents. Right? So in Japan, Amida is sometimes referred to as Oya-sama. Oya-sama. We don't hear that so much anymore, right? But that kind of classic expression in Japanese, Oya-sama. It's interesting because Oya means parents, right? And yet it's kind of pointing to one, right? The single being, Amida, and yet referred to as Oya-sama. Right? So I like that. It's interesting, huh? We can think about that. But there's also a poem by Shinran, another one of the Wasans, that's based on one of the Chinese masters, Shan Dao. But let me read it to you. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and our mother, full of love and compassion for us. Guiding us through various skillful means, they bring us to awaken the supreme Shinji. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and our mother. He uses this term, bumo. Bu is father, mo is mother, right? Like chichi haha, right? Or tosan kasa, those two characters. Shakyamuni and Amida are our jihi no bumo, mother and father of compassion, compassionate mother and father. And it's interesting because in the notes Shinran has written next to it, Shakyamuni is our father, Amida is our mother. So he like specifies, right? It's like in the text, it's just Amida and Shakyamuni are our compassionate father and mother. But in the notes, he kind of like goes into detail there, right? With thinking of Shakyamuni as our father, Amida as our mother. Full of love and compassion for us, guiding us through various skillful means. So always thinking about us, always taking care of us, bringing us to awaken the supreme Shinji, right? The entrusting mind, the mind entrusting in the Buddha, in the compassion of the Buddha, accepting me as I am. Which takes me back to my parents, and just, it was interesting to hear from a family friend because both my parents have died, right? And like 20 years ago. And at one point, one of the family friends, I was talking to her, and she said, your dad was worried about you. We were talking one night, and he was saying, I don't know, is he going to be okay? Right? And I had no idea, because my dad never expressed that to me, right? But hearing that years later, and realizing, oh my gosh, what did I put my parents through? But I couldn't have done anything different. That's who I was. That's who I am in so many ways. And yet, I feel like they did accept me as I was. They weren't always happy about it, right? But they took care of me as best they could. They did the best job that they could, right? And even now, 20 years later, I can hear things from other people, my other family members or family friends or whatever, but I can still reflect on my relationship with my parents. And so, but just thinking about these different perspectives, I think that any time, any occasion is an opportunity to realize, wow, this is my perspective. It's like tunnel vision. Can I break out and think of it from another perspective? And I think that that's just really, really important viewpoint of Buddhism, right? Or viewpoints, or ultimate no view, I don't know, right? Multiple views. And so the last thing I'll share is this incredible statement from Shinran that comes from one of the sacred texts of Buddhism. But this he says in Tanisho, and he says, all beings, without exception, have been our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, in the course of countless lives, in many states of existence. So this realization, wow, actually we're all connected. Like the bonds that we see here, I think are important, right? The bonds with our own parents, with our own families, yes, they're important, but it shouldn't stop there, right? That the ideal in Buddhism is we're all family, all of us, whether the human race or all living beings, right? Beyond just humans, but also animals, right? Whatever, right? That actually we're all connected and we're all family. And so I really think that that is a kind of profound realization that fits what the opening phrase that I used from the Dalai Lama, right? To realize we're all here on this earth and we have to learn to live in peace and harmony. And if it's me against you, my family's better than your family, my country's better than your country, I want what you have, I'm just going to take it, it's not going to work. Right? So on this occasion of Mother's Day, maybe think about our own mothers, think about the mothers around us, right? If you are a mother, thank you, thank you, thank you, right? This is very much gratitude, right? Thinking of them with gratitude and appreciation, and then stretch it out. Right? And so that's why, for me, that's why I tried to do that, right? Thinking about my mom first, but realizing, wait, there's other moms in my life. Wait, there's other moms all around me. Wait a second, all these people in a way have been my mother, and I've been their mother. They've been my father, I've been their father. We've been siblings, right? We've all had these experiences. We don't remember them because it's past lifetimes, right? But it's another way to think about it, another perspective, back way out. Right? And realize that the earth is our extended family. Right? So from the particular of mothers all the way to the universal, but we can come back to the particulars. And happy Mother's Day, happy Parents' Day to everyone. And why don't we conclude with Gassho as we listen to these words of the Dalai Lama once again. Because we all share this planet Earth, we have to learn to live in harmony and peace with each other and with nature. This is not just a dream, but a necessity. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Should we sing a song? Let's sing Ondokusan 2. We're going to have to get some new repertoire going, but let me make sure it's on. Yep. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, thank you everyone. Just for a few announcements. We're still continuing our hybrid, as you've noticed, hybrid in-person and online services, and we're trying. There's always something that goes wrong, it seems like, but we're going to keep working on it. It's really nice to be able to have people in person, but it's also nice to be able to talk to you folks on the screen. Let's see, next week is kind of just a regular Dharma family service, but the week after that, we'll be having Gotane, Fujimatsuri, which will include our infant presentation, Hatsumairi. We'll be doing that outdoors, and we do have a very special guest speaker that I don't want to announce quite yet, but I think it's going to be a really nice service. It'll be kind of combined with adults and Dharma school. And then the week after that is our cemetery visitations for Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be doing those in person. It's still at this point. We'll still be wanting to be masked and social distancing and everything. but it'll be nice to be able to see everyone again. And so we'll probably send out by email a kind of reminder of that schedule, and it's in the Bushin. BCA does still have a position open. There's an immediate opening for a full-time administrative assistant with the option to work at either the Jodo Shinshu Center in Berkeley or national headquarters in San Francisco. And so for information, please contact Gail Noguchi, Director of Operations at Chi Noguchi at BCA headquarters, or sorry, bcahq.org. I set out the acronym, right? bcahq.org. You can email us probably, and we can put you in touch with her too, if you're interested. Okay, thank you very much to our host group for setting up and being there for us and helping make the service happen. And of course, our tech crew and Stephen Terasaki on the organ. Why don't we conclude our service with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Namo. Okay, thank you.